On today's episode, we have with us Mike Casa. He is a professional comedian who enjoys sharing his social commentary about life in Switzerland through his stand up comedy and related online skits. In fact, many people resonate with his comedic takes on work and everyday life, as he has amassed a large social media following and strong popularity for his in person comedy shows. And he credits a lot of his success to putting himself out there in order to make his mark in the comedy scene. So, thank you so much for being here with me today. And I want to start with your journey because you've been creating content and doing stand up comedy shows for quite some time now before your sketches really took off. And anyone who has ever put themselves out there can tell you that it takes a lot of self confidence to climb over what we call cringe mountain, especially on social media. And I do believe that being cringy is a made up concept to discourage anyone from going against the grain. So, how did you initially overcome that fear of being seen or that fear of being cringy, especially when you first started creating your comedy skits in person and online?
Right. To me, was never a big question of being afraid that people see what I do. That was not a topic for me. It was more, do I have ideas for a skit, right? Because I started my journey with stand-up comedy, right? Already now 11 years ago, I think I did my first stand-up comedy, 5 minutes in open mic. And then I had at the moment for a while only stand-up comedies clips that I had look no embarrassment of showing. Honestly, I was like, okay, I think it's okay. The audience reacts okay in the video. Like, let's put it out there, right? There were some negative comments to be expected, honestly, but not nothing that really made me shake, let's say. Then the skits are, yes, probably a bit more, let's say, cringe in some way with the wigs and thing. But I think when I started putting out skits, I had already the confidence that I had already a follower base because of the stand up comedy, and he created, like, a less awkward situation. Let's say, because I know there were already, uh, let's say, a decent amount of people online that were following me for stand-up comedy. So it was like, okay, new content, different. Let's give it a go, right? Not, don't think there was so much judgmental people when I started the sketch, so it was not so cringe as for other people, I imagine.
And it's very interesting because it's one thing to put yourself out there, but it's a whole other thing to do it consistently, right? And when you're an artist and you're creating art and you want the world to see your art, and in your form, comedy is your art, right? But it can feel very discouraging when you don't get the traction that you believe you deserve. So, how do you stay consistent? And did you ever feel like you didn't want to put yourself out there because you felt discouraged of not getting the traction that you thought you would get for your sketches?
So yeah, it's a great question. Usually, I experiment different style, different formats. Um, there was a moment that some material that I think is great doesn't get traction, and other material that you think is not great sometimes does get much more traction. And I saw this conference of Gary Vee that it's a big content creator, and is also, let's say, a motivational coach in the social media world. He was saying that viral content by nature is unpredictable. Right? You don't know, creators don't know which one is gonna go viral and which one doesn't. Right? It's a really really odd game sometimes that you think, okay, this is not going viral, and then you put it out there and it blew up. So much so that I remember when I did my board meeting, which is where I think I started really getting a large traction with the board meetings. I did in one day, it was a Saturday, I did 13 board meeting uh, in one go, right? Because I optimized this. I do one persona, like 13, 13 recording for the videos. Another persona, 13 recording for video, 30, and so then I edit them, right? Really industrially almost. Back then it was like mostly industrially. And I remember I did one of IKEA that I found it okay. I mean, it was not the one that I thought was going to get traction, right? But let's put it out there. Is the one video that went better of all my videos. I think I got something like 9 million views across social medias. So it was surprising to me. Yeah, sometimes it happens that a video doesn't get traction, and you something wonder why, but it's a nature, right?
That's very interesting because comedy has the opportunity to highlight social commentary that either requires more awareness amongst the general public or already validates what the general public is thinking. So, why do you think people resonate with your skits so much? For example, you mentioned the IKEA skit that you did. And what is that process like of creating sketches that are so relatable to the audience? And you were referring to the board meetings earlier that were very popular amongst your audience.
Yes, of course. I try to find, of course, situations that are relatable to other people. That's of course key. That's then it's not that I have probably like an agenda or like a guideline that I could share on how to do so. I try to think about funny situations related to topics that are common to people, that are people can relate with. There is this famous sentence that comedy is a muscle. So it's gonna be harder at the beginning, so much so that I remember that I got so motivated to do sketch by other content creator, Swiss content creator, very successful, one of the most successful that I met when I was on the television studios for a comedy boot camp. And he told me, no, but you start film, start also doing sketch, not only stand-up comedy. That's where I started. I was like, yeah, but I don't have many ideas for sketches. And it's like, just take your stand-up comedy beats, convert it to sketch, just do it also quality, it doesn't really matter, right? I don't know if it was because of him, but already I had in mind to start. I started really doing so, converting stand-up comedy clips to videos, to sketches, right? And then I started training this muscle of sketches. Now it's a different muscle that I trained. It's like stand-up comedy is left arm and sketches is the right arm. There are two different kind of humors, I think. And now I can think in sketches. So much so that I also have a list of sketches that I didn't have time to film because ideas comes. And I remember at the beginning I was really surprised about this because he was saying, he does sketches, this guy, mostly sketches. And he was saying, I have a list of sketches that I still have to do because I have too many ideas and too few time. And I was surprised, wow, you have so many ideas that you don't have time to film them, right? And then after 3 years of doing sketches, now I found myself in the same position. I have too many ideas and not time because just I trained the muscle of sketches, I think.
In fact, it's quantity over quality, especially at the beginning. And then once you start creating, you can really begin to refine and get to that quality part. But you have to first create a lot in order to get there, right?
Yeah. There is a component of that for sure. Yes.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned that at the beginning it was difficult to get so many ideas, right, for the sketches. But later on, as you started creating more, you had all of these ideas that now you're also running out of time, right? How to create them, how to produce them. So where do you think most creatives go wrong in the beginning when they're just starting out? What is that common mistake that they're making that they might not know that they're making, and how can they address it?
Um, yes, I would say some creators stick to one single format, or they try to launch one single format that I see on my friends, right? I think it's good to change format, experiment new thing, experiment also subtitles, make sure that is in the first seconds that is catchy, there is something catchy happen. And sometimes I'm also making this mistake in one of my sketches some weeks ago. I think the idea was really good, but the intro was too long, and I realized it didn't catch up as others, right? Very below average. and I realized it. Okay, that's also because I had, it started getting interesting. It's get revealing too late, and it's really, I mean, now well known, right? That you have to get attention on the first second, and this is important. Then it's also more difficult for a new creator, just because people don't know your face, right? So when they scroll, they don't give you a strong chance from the beginning. They scroll, they see, okay, I don't know the guy, scroll past that, right? Now, I guess at some point when you have a bit of more follower base, you know that retention is going to be longer, just because they see your face. I know I saw something funny back some weeks ago or the other day, and so they are more prone to watch the full thing, right? And this is impact massively the algorithm, right? Because the algorithm is basically like and shares and retention, right? Retention, I think, is most important. Even what percentage of people watch the full video, what percentage watch 2/3. So and this can only go up, by putting out a lot of material, and of course, having a consistency in quality at some point.
And what do you think is the ultimate outcome of your comedy, right? So you're iterating throughout the process. How did you finally get that clarity of what you wanted to communicate, right? Because finally, the messages of what you were trying to get out there as a comedian were really resonating with people. So, what is that final outcome, if you can even call it that, that you want out of your audience? Is it a laugh? Is it a point of self reflection? What would that be?
Yeah. Look, I see myself less as an artist, more as an entertainer. Right, this is another business. I don't want necessarily to convey any strong political message, anything that also I see. You know, it can divide audiences. I mean, I like strong political comedy or strong opinionated comedy. That's not something I dislike. So I like it. But in my comedy, I try not to convey political messages per se, or religious. To me, what I try to convey is maybe some fun about the annoyance of daily activities. Let's say this is my strong point. That in your comedy career, and you find where is your niche, where is your character. And I think my character is like complaining, right? Complaining about things that don't work, and find the comic side of it. Yeah, there is no particular agenda. I'm really trying to be, let's say, neutral, and also have to warn the comedians that comes to my to open for my shows, to not go too political, religious, because this is not the crowd that is expecting that, because they know from my skits and there is no involvement. Yesterday, for instance, my opener, were great opener, Adonis Buchaka, a comedian. He made a religious joke, and he lost the audience for a couple of minutes. So that's because people are coming there to be entertained, not to be strong or opinionated on a message.
And do you ever see yourself and your comedy evolving to a space of politics or
Right.
other greater social issues?
It's a good question. I'm not sure if I will go there at some point. I already try to make more statement about some minor social issues, like the wasting public money for advertisement of companies that do not need to sell a product. That's like already a bit a social issue. I think is a big one, right? Maybe, who knows, maybe at some point I will go more on that direction. I don't know. I honestly don't think so, but who knows. It's difficult to predict how it's going to evolve. um, Sometimes it's like this: the comedians that get more established then feel like more open to share opinions, because they know that people are going to listen anyhow, right? So it can be that I will go that direction. I don't have it in plans at the moment.
Speaking of the international scene, are there any international comedians outside of Switzerland that you look to for inspiration or you just really enjoy their comedy takes?
Right, yes. I always say Sebastian Maniscalco. Sebastian Maniscalco, because reflects my comedy in different ways. He is not controversial as well. He's okay. It's not vulgar that you cannot bring, a teenager to see it. Because on my show, many times there are also parents with teenagers, right? I always say, for me, limit is 12 years old. They can come. There is nothing too controversial, right, for a 12-year-old. So I look up to Sebastian Maniscalco. Maybe you know the comedian, maybe.
Well, actually, for our audience, if you can share where he's from and the type of comedy that he
Sure
does.
thing. Yes, he's from Chicago, Italian, Italian descendant. Let's say from an Italian family. Yeah, grew up in the Midwest. He became very popular in the U.S. I think that's a bit a strange thing about Sebastian Maniscalco. He's super popular in the U.S. He was at some point one of the highest paying comedian in the world. But somehow in Europe, it's not so well known. But yeah, his comedy, it's also complaining about daily life. It's a complaining comedy about how people behave, and also I see myself doing that, and also very physical. I really like this physicality, right? And I also try to have some physicality on my stand-up comedy, and it's very interesting that some of my stand-up comedy that works very well on stage, that is physical. Then when you put it on a clip, on a stand-up comedy clip, it's not so impactful. It doesn't get so much traction as it should, because physicality is great for in stand-up comedy, right? But it doesn't reflect really well on, I think, on the screen, right? That's a little fun fact that I found out, But yeah, for him, I take inspiration also for integrating physicality in stand-up comedy.
Maybe you could elaborate on what you mean that it doesn't really translate on screen.
Right. So what I see, that I see this weird phenomenon that I do a stand-up comedy bit on stage that I know 90% of the time is going to get an applause, because it's very, very. I mean, I also like the joke per se. I think it's well structured. And there is some physicality as well, and I think it's a nice bit. And then when I put it online as a stand-up comedy clip, it doesn't get traction, right? So that's what I'm not known exactly what is the reason of that. If one idea is like maybe physicality, facial expression doesn't transfer in such a funny way on the clip, on the screen, as in real life, right? But what I find really interesting is that my best bits of stand-up comedy that I do on stage, most of them, they don't go viral when I do it on as clip on screen that people can see. So one reason could be that physicality doesn't translate so well on a screen, but much more live.
It's very interesting because I think, for example, when you're actually at the comedy show, you have like the whole atmosphere, you have the audience, you have kind of this buzzing environment that maybe makes that type of comedy or whatever is being said more, I guess people are more open to it. So maybe they're more willing to give it a laugh. Like it might be because of the environment you're in that's making the difference. Whereas if you're just watching it on your screen, you don't get all the other senses that those people in the audience are feeling.
Yeah, probably there is the chemistry that is created during the show that makes a bit part of it, right? It's it's one theory. I think it might be the right one, right? But I still didn't quite get what is the exact mechanism, right? That makes it not being at least interesting, right, on screen, that you say, okay, at least it came at the same level of sketches, right?
Yeah.
But there some clips they don't get that same level of sketch. Yeah.
And what do you think was the toughest crowd that you've ever performed for? That maybe you thought, would be really receptive to what you have to say, but maybe didn't perform as well, or just in general, the crowd just didn't react the way that you wanted to that night.
Right. Sometimes it happens in corporate events. Sometimes, I mean, rarely now. I mean, I'm very happy that lately all the corporate event I did went well, but sometimes by nature, a corporate event can be can be a tough crowd just because no one wants to laugh in front of other, or there is like not the chemistry. I always say to when I get booked, look, you have to make sure that this is a crowd that wants stand-up comedy and that is ready for it, right? Because I heard this one recently. It's like. Otherwise, it's like taking a guy with a Zamboni on a beach, right? So it's right. It's a tool that is not on the right place, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's. I still remember I did a couple that really the audience didn't catch. I remember this one vividly. It was like maybe 2 years ago in Ticino. I did a show for a company. They were maybe impressive because they were like a big crowd. It was like maybe 100 people, and it was quite surreal because there was like a guy that was laughing, one guy, and all the other silence. It was like just this guy applauding. He looked like a madman in this environment. It was like kind of surreal, but it's very funny because I did my set there, and then I combined it with a show on the city. It was in Lugano, and I combined with my show on the evening, which went well. And there was a guy that was also at the conference there, and he said, "Wow, well, it's crazy, different reactions." Yes, yes, it's also a chemistry that it creates between the audience. It's a big part of, but not many people know, but a big part of how you perceive stand-up comedy is given by the people that are around you at that moment, right? You can do the same set, same delivery one night and get a full-blown reaction. You do the same set the other night and it gets silence. It's a chemistry is created with the public, and many people don't realize because it's something subconscious, right? I also didn't know. I remember when I started, I had my 5 minutes that were very good, and I was like, okay, this is our 5 minutes that will always work, right? Then you go one night and they don't work. It's like, oh, we work so far. How come, right? And then you understand that there is this thing that people don't know. Usually don't know because I also didn't know when I started when performing that there is a thing. Yeah, so it can bomb. Then of course you don't have to be too hard on yourself, right? Because sometimes I really wonder, is that any other comedian that would have managed to make this crowd laugh, right? I'm like, okay, stand-up comedy, maybe like a magician, yes, maybe something more physical, but stand-up comedy that would make this crowd laugh, and I think it's difficult. We'll never know, but
It's very interesting that you say don't be so hard on yourself, right? And some people who might be starting out, they might take that very personally, that they didn't get the reaction that they were looking for, right? So, how do you go about detaching from your outcomes? I mean, you've done it so many times now that you know what to expect. And even when people don't laugh, you kind of shrug it off, like what you said. But for someone who's starting out, how do they learn to detach from the reactions of the audience?
mhm. Um, just it's a good question, and it has to have a balance, right? I think you have to be detached from the reaction at some point, right? Because you want to go on stage, but you also have to feel that the material maybe is not good, right? And making okay, I have to iterate this material. This is not good. I think it's good. It worked maybe one night. It didn't work for 3 nights in a row. I have to change it. I have to improve. That's a mistake that also people can do. There's maybe another tangent, but I see some comedians in the scene that do not realize that the material is not working. Right? That's also a thing. Maybe they detach themselves so much from the reaction of the audience that they see, oh, no, it's my art is great, and then they don't even perceive that they have something they have to change. So it's also good to feel, oh, damn, I didn't have a good reaction, right? You have to have also this, and say, okay, otherwise you don't go forward, right? It's both. I mean, it can be a fuel as well, right? Getting silence to say, okay, I have to iterate, I have to try new stuff, I have to write more. Um, then I don't think there is a particular formula. I think consistency. It's um, then of course again doesn't have to be consistently bad. Keep persistent, right? And feel the crowd, because this is a dance. You cannot also say it's good if you feel bad when you bomb, when you go and there is no reaction. You have to feel a bit bad, and you have to say, okay, I have to go back and use it as fuel to write more and write better.
That's very interesting. I guess it's a balance of tough love for yourself, but in a constructive way to improve, of
Yeah.
course. Do you have any other words of advice or encouragement for anyone who wants to start putting themselves out there? And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go and do comedy, but if they want to start creating content, what would those words of encouragement look
I
like?
would say do at least 100 videos before judging yourself. I would say just go persistent, and at the beginning it's normal that it sucks, right? At the beginning is normal. Doesn't have to be great. I like to think that when I started I was already good, but it's not true. I mean, I had I think some good jokes that I still like and still use them. Some jokes that I wrote at the beginning, but most of material I see now that could have been improved, right? Could have been or changed or discarded already. So I mean, it's normal. There is a learning curve, right? That's also not super great advice, but I think if you go consistent, then some results will come out, right? And also once you get traction, then this is another fuel that you have, right? I remember at the beginning I wasn't writing so much, right? Then when I started my clip, stand-up comedy clip, at the beginning started getting traction. I'm like, wow, I have to write more. I got to write more because I have people that like my stuff, right? And so it kind of, once you come on this flow of writing and seeing results, then you will be motivated. But it's work to come to that point, right?
And what do you think you're most proud of when you're looking back at your journey from the first time that you uploaded your videos to now? What is that achievement, or what do you really appreciate about yourself that has gotten you to
Mm-hmm.
this point?
I create many format and original content, because I experience like really like people copying me 101, even like a couple of cases 101, they copied the video 101, right? The video, they went viral, copied 101, and I see, and people don't know, and that's it's a bit the situation where you can you cannot, you could prove it, but no one, you see another creator having copied you 101, basically maybe they say, no, this is the first one he created first, and then maybe you see it, you don't know who created first, right? And this is something that really gets me mad sometimes when they see it. Some weeks ago, for instance, I posted one about the museum that I already posted. I posted last year the same, because it was went really well. Went again on a couple of millions views. So this time about the museum guide. I don't know if you've seen this clip.
Okay.
Is a sketch
Oh, yes,
where to
yes,
show
I've
like
seen that
they
one.
don't say nothing. Those guides, when I take them, is always just zero value information. And I saw a guy doing something similar. One friend saying, "Hey, this guy's doing something similar." And I got so mad, like, take me copy him, because he's a big content creator. He had like 500,000. But then I scrolled down, right, and I saw that he started with something similar already 3 years ago. So by chance, he did something similar, right? Sometimes we have also the same, same idea on the same time. Can happen, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, then this of course that you cannot know. But what I'm proud that I try not to. I try. I don't. I don't copy other content creators. I just do stuff that it's different in nature and original. I try. This is I try to make creativity my strong point.
Absolutely. And I think that when people are really actively taking inspiration from your work, um, it means that, to a certain extent, your creativity out there is being validated, right? Like that is the achievement on its own, that there are so many other people that are looking to your work. Of course, nobody should be copying your work, but I guess you could also take it from the perspective of you're doing something right.
Yeah, probably it's a good validation of the material. Yeah. Um, yes, I mean there is nothing you could do for that, right? It's but what is also that I tell myself is okay, they might be able to copy material and get a lot of views from material copied, but they cannot do a stand-up comedy show because that's you need other level, other creativity, right? So
Mhm.
that's at least comfort. They might convert it in view and sponsorship,
Yeah.
but they cannot make a show out of it.
Yeah. It's definitely a different skill set for sure because I think the online format is just so structured and you just have the ability to do as many retakes as you want, fix the delivery, but when you're doing a live comedy show, it's just one take, right? It's just you either say what you need to say in the way that you need to say it or you risk not resonating with your audience at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, totally. There are two different skill set. Both of them needs creativity. That's for sure. Um, I think uh, I would be curious to go to see a show from a sketch maker. Might be funny, right? But I think it's difficult when I see sometimes sketch maker they do a stand-up comedy show, right? And to me, it's odd because there are two different arts, two different creativities. But I don't say if it's good or bad. I don't. I didn't see it, so I don't know. But to me, it's odd because those are two different skills. I think sketch and stand-up comedy.
There's this theory out there that ideas come and go. So ideas come to everyone. And it's not just you. So you might have an idea or someone else might have an idea. They're just out there in the world. And it's up to you to take action on them, right? So do you ever feel like there were ideas that you had, but you never took action on, and then you realized someone else took the opportunity?
I don't have an example of something I can think about on that direction. Um, what happens is like someone that does a great idea or great skit. I was like, oh, that was rejected. I could have talked about that. Then it was like, oh, you could have talked about that. That happens. But on I think when I have an idea and I believe in it, I just create the video. Now once you know how to use the tools, then is quick. Like also quality is not so key, right? So it's the beauty of it, of this the sketch and this tolerance also in terms of quality. Sometimes people write me, no, I like because also it looks bad, like the background, everything looks bad. It's so funnier in a way, when the quality is low. So there is I would say not much in this situation for me because at the end the barrier to entry on the idea is quite low once you know how to use a bit the tools, right? So if I have an idea, it's difficult that I think, oh, it's brilliant, but I cannot implement it because I need too much technical thing or whatever, right? I can still film it. So I think this is one the reason why I don't have an example to give you for your question.
That's interesting. But do you find even those what your audience says are low quality, quote unquote, just from a technical filming perspective, but even those videos do take a bit of time and effort to create, whether they may not look, as structured or whether they look like they're done in a studio. I have to say that you still need a certain level of time, energy, skills to be able to even produce that,
Right.
right?
I revert to you the question. How much do you think is taking a board meeting from the first writing the sketch to filming it, ending, subtitle, everything?
I would say an hour and a half to 2 hours. Yeah, an hour and a half to 2 hours.
All right, that's quite. Sometimes it can take usually around an hour, 1 hour,
Okay.
1 hour
Okay.
for for okay jotting down the idea, writing the script, filming, doing some the editing, which I think a lot of people think it takes longer. A lot of people think
Mm.
when I go to do this question, people say 3 hours, something less than what people think, especially the last videos on the corporate worlds. that are super quick. Honestly, for it's probably from end to end 45 minutes. Uh, so it's quicker than you thought. So also in time wise, the barrier to entry is not that big.
Mm.
Then depending if you have like other props, but you can use the backgrounds and it's I think it's like in music. I just saw a podcast on music. One of self-produced creator that I really like, Graham, and he was telling that there has never been a better time to be a music producer because the barrier to entry is so low, right? Using the tool is easy. Having access to beats, it's also really affordable, and he learns everything out of YouTube, right? And now it's an artist with millions and millions of streams, right? And learn how to do music in YouTube without any previous knowledge of music. Same and even easier is comedy, right? Now you need a studio, you just need a phone, you just need a couple of apps, and you can do clips, right? There's almost zero barrier to entry, right? And sometimes I'm even surprised how come there are not more content creators around, right? I mean, that's also my openers of comedy, right? I think someone has great ideas, and it was like I wonder why you guys are not productive, why you don't put out more material. I mean, it's so accessible, right? To clip and sketches. So yeah, so it's basically very easy, I would say. Yeah,
But to your question about why are there not more content creators, I think it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, right? It's the fear of being seen or it's the fear of being cringy. It takes
probably.
a
Yeah,
lot to put yourself out there, right? And to consistently do it even when, you don't get likes or you don't get people following you. But I think that is the personal development journey of social media. I think it goes back to that, like having that self-confidence to overcome that.
probably it's a big factor. I know. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. I mean, from my experience, right? I wonder if some comedians use it as a bit as an excuse, right? To say, I fear, that there's on a bomb. Uh, because at the end, stand-up comedy by nature, you go out and you try stuff, and you know that some stuff will not work, right? So those people already have like a mindset of failing and learning from the failure, right? I don't know if it's a bit maybe laziness as well, or maybe not the wish of not doing it, right? There's also like a fair, wish. I mean, I don't want to be seen. I don't have this need, and I don't have pleasure in putting out stuff, right? To me, I mean, I start really for the pleasure of making people laugh, right? Um, and I still remember, right, when I was doing comedy, started doing for the first year. When I started doing comedy, I was doing for the first 5 6 years basically unpaid, right? Everything was unpaid. Was even losing money because sometimes I had a showcase in Bern, right? I was doing my 15 minutes in the showcase, and the guy was giving me 20 francs, and the ticket cost 50. So I was even losing money for doing comedy, right? But I did it out of passion, right? And the person actually was booking me, was saying, yeah, like here everyone has a second reason, right? I mean, this guy does it for trying to get more money in the future. This guy does it for that, but you are the only one that do it just for the passion of it, right? Just for the pleasure of doing stand-up comedy. So, and I think the same with skits, right? I started doing it just because I have the pleasure of seeing people laugh and reacting. Maybe it's still ego, but I like to think it's not so much ego centered when I started. And then that's why I had pleasure doing it. So I had pleasure doing the skits and then reading the reaction, the emojis or whatsoever, like people sharing how they liked it, right? So that was my fuel, right? And some people I might be that they don't have this fuel, right? That okay, I don't care what people think about my skits, right?
It's very interesting that you share that, right? Because Some people think that art or having proximity to art is inaccessible, right? And sometimes it's because of economic limitations. And what you're saying at the beginning is that you really enjoyed comedy and therefore you really wanted to be a part of that scene, right? A part of that space. So I found it very interesting that when I went to your website, you basically say if for some reason someone can't afford a ticket to your show, they can send you a message and they'll be added to the guest list, no questions asked. So, is this your way of making your art or your comedy more accessible? And is this also your way of making sure that what you're passionate about is available to as many people as possible?
Yes, I would say. I mean, I always, thought it's not a big extra cost, right? Sometimes it happens that this, the free program, I have to block tickets, right? And if it's sold out, it just, it costs you the extra tickets. But if the show is not sold out for me, it's not an extra cost, right? And yeah, I mean, I'm like, please come. It's usually also people that use this opportunity are people that are going to have a lot of fun. Sometimes it's funny because sometimes people like to write also the reasons. No, because this time I have my rent. I was like, guys, no worries. I mean, exactly, no question asked. You just come. I put you on the list. You don't have to justify anything. So yeah. I mean, honestly, it's a little thing. I know that Victor Patrascan is another comedian. Maybe you know him. Was doing it, and I saw like I was like, good idea. Let's put it out at the end. That doesn't cost us nothing to me almost. So I do it, and I also do it for free for charity event. For charity event, I do
Mm.
comedy for free. And that's a much bigger commitment because then that's those shows usually have like a lot of emails, when timing, the briefing, those are more a big commitment. But these things of 3 ticket, it's like a really small thing at the end. I'm going to perform next month in Hallenstadion. Like maybe it's probably the biggest arena in Switzerland, right? It's the biggest arena. It's for a big company event. It's gonna be around 4,000 people, right? So this is gonna be my biggest audience so far. And yeah, no, I'm excited to go because one of the things that I answer when they ask, well, what is your dream? I say, just for saying something, doing my show at Hallenstadion, right? Which is, I mean, now it's a bit, a reality, right? I'm not doing my show at Hallenstadion, but I'm still performing for a big audiences in Hallenstadion. So it's already half a dream accomplished. So yeah, this is my next big thing, I think. Yeah.
And what are you looking forward to after that? Do you have any other milestones that you're really looking forward to achieve? Or are you just really happy with how things are just flowing in your career right
Yeah.
now?
Look, no, I'm happy how things are flowing. At the end, there are like things that I would like to do, which is a challenge. In it's performing my comedy in Swiss German and seeking to see if I can build a audience, also a big audience in Swiss German. That would be my next big thing. It's like has a lot of commitment and yeah, it's a challenge more than than a goal, right? Because it's gonna be tough to bring also new audiences. That is also larger because I live in the Swiss German part. Is a larger audience. I have a comedian that I really look up to. That with the fact that he does this in Swiss German, he can go to Zofingen, right, or like to a place where probably not many people will come on my show because it's not they don't speak. I mean, speak English. Probably there are like people that speak English, but there is not like this critical mass of people that speak English. And in managing to do a full room, right? This would be I think a challenge that I'm looking forward to. It was a natural flow because I did my studies in Zurich, master is in English, and then I was doing also my PhD in Zurich, and it's the international environment. All were coming from abroad. Uh, English was my daily life, right? And I found out about the possibility to perform stand-up comedy when I went to watch a is show in English, right? And also the space they were giving for open micer for people that wanted to try stuff was in English, right? And then it naturally went to the direction. And I also started going regularly when I was in Sydney. I got like a year of my PhD that was in Sydney, and there of course I did it in English and I came back. And it felt naturally to continue in English and not switch to German or Italian, right? And I think it's not an agenda that for reaching a broader audience, right? But it helps, of course. It helps also if you perform in English. There are advantages and disadvantages, of course. One of big advantages I can do it overall in Switzerland, right, and get an audience, right, because in Geneva there's a critical mass of people who speak English, a critical mass of expat, right, and I can do it. I'm in Montreux in 2 weeks, and also there I have a big follower base. And I can do in Ticino, of course, and Swiss German part with English, right? And then probably next year or so, some other European cities. Yeah, I think it was a good decision, but was not a conscious decision.
I thought we would do a quick round of Q&A just to talk about some of your favorite things in Switzerland. So,
Sure.
starting with the first one. What is your favorite scenic train route in the country?
I think must be probably Grindelwald and in the region that is stereotypical, nice route. I would say also really recommended. Now it came to my mind the Grosse Mitten in Schwyz. Maybe have you heard about it? It's a
No.
hike, very popular hike. It's you start from Schwyz, from the town of Schwyz, and you hike up this Grosse Mitte, and then you have this in a clear day you have this beautiful view over the four canton sea. It's this beautiful view that I usually bring friends. Also because of proximity as well, because you start if you start out of Zurich, it's closer, right? And then all Grindelwald and this region, which is also beautiful, is a bit further away. But yeah, this would be I think the big classic. But there is always a reason why a place is touristic, right? I mean, I had another tangent, but I have my friend that made me aware of it when he went in exchange in Murcia. I think it was Murcia in Spain. And then I was like, how is that? I never heard people going for tourism. And he's like, yeah, that there is always a reason why there is no tourist. So I mean, also tourists are a good sign, honestly. So
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. That region is just beautiful, especially in the fall, which leads me to my next question. What is your favorite fall hike?
Oh, all right. So there is one that is very nice close to Zurich that I can recommend, and is from the Albis Pass. It's a pass close to Zurich, really close to the city, and then you go along those hills. From there you start. You can go along the hills that go south in direction Rapperswil, and you have a beautiful view on the Lake of Zurich. It's what we do, I think, in Zurich because it's close, right?
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful scenic ground in fall. Yes.
Now, going back to your roots, what is your favorite Italian restaurant in Lugano?
All right. I think is Segarten. Segarten is it's quite on the upper range, right? But food quality and location is just unbeatable. It's on the lake, and there is a lot of attention to details for the menu. I really like that one. Recommended especially if you go like for a weekend in Lugano. This is I think it's worth experiencing, right? It's something special, right? It's not so expensive compared to Zurich prices of restaurants. Maybe it would fall in the middle range of a Zurich restaurant, right? But there, of course, it's I would say restaurants are generally 20-30% cheaper in Ticino. So yeah, that would be a good choice.
And if someone was to go there, what would you recommend them to order?
When I go there at noon, and I think the menu is just great because that is really a really almost nouvelle cuisine with different dishes, well created. So even check out the menu that they have. It's a good solution.
And speaking of food, between these three choices, which one would you pick? Fondue or raclette or pizza?
Depend on the season. I would probably go for pizza, just but depends also on the season. Maybe now tonight I would go for a fondue. Yeah.
And lastly, of course, we have to talk about chocolate. So between Sprungly and Vanini, which one would you prefer?
I think I never tried the chocolate from Vanini, but I tried the marron glacé that I love. The marron glacé from they're famous in Ticino for the marron glacé. Uh, and yeah, I mean, if you give me like spring chocolate or marron glacé, I would go for marron glacé.
Any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience today?
Maybe I take the chance to ask people that don't know me to check out to see if they like my stuff. To get a bit more a flair of what I do. Right. So my Casa comedy on all social media, and yeah, hopefully you like it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today. And for those of you interested in checking out Mike Casa's comedy, I'll leave all the details in the description below.